Good evening. The webinar will begin in a few minutes. Please take note of the housekeeping items on your screen now. All participants' video and audio will be muted this evening. If you're a junior or senior high school student, please rename yourself for a scholarship drawing this evening. Good evening and welcome to the freshman year of your college webinar. My name is Nick Boudre from St. Clair County RESA, the supervisor of career and college program, also representing Blue Water College Access Network. Before we get started this evening, we would like to congratulate the class of 2021 that may have endured one of the most challenging senior years in history of education in our lifetime. And yet you have persevered through all the challenges throughout the year and are ready to take the next chapter on in your lives. It is our goal tonight to help you with this transition with a panel of graduates from the graduating class of 2020 that faced similar challenges and are finishing up their freshman year in college. Tonight's event will kick off the Spring Essentials series. The spring is at a very important time to start preparing for next fall, especially for you seniors. From the fast approaching deadlines of college decision days, scholarships, and the FAFSA application to the task that you need to complete over the summer before you step foot on the college campus next fall. Our goal tonight is to help provide you with a better understanding of what you need to complete prior to leaving your high school during the summer. And lastly, what your freshman year may look like and things you can encounter throughout the months. A special note that each of our panelists this evening are currently majoring in careers that can be found on Michigan's Hot 50 Careers list until 2028. That is a list of the highest demand, highest paying careers. The format this evening will be about a 30 to 40 minute discussion, followed by a question and answer segment where the audience can ask questions via the chat button at the bottom of your screen. But please feel free to ask questions throughout the presentation and we'll ask them during that time. Some suggestions for this evening as you listen to our three panelists. Ask yourself, what colleges do you have narrowed down at the top of your list before the decision day on May 1st? Have you completed the FAFSA, or the free application for federal student aid? What scholarships have I applied for and what scholarships can I still apply for? What scholarships are being offered only at my high school, maybe in my community, or at the colleges and universities that I'm planning to attend? And last but not least, do I have a plan for this summer beyond possibly a summer job? Do I have a list of things that I need to complete before next fall? With that being said, let's get started with our first guest this evening. I'm gonna unmute her screen and her video.
Hello.
Amber Cezanne, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Amber Lee is coming to us from St. Clair County Community College, otherwise known as SC4, and is a graduate of St. Clair High School as well as St. Clair County Tech. Without any more questions from myself, information from myself, Amber Lee, tell us what you're studying at SC4.
Yeah, so my main focus right now is nursing. That's what I'm planning on majoring in, even though I'm not in the nursing program yet. I'm getting all my prerequisites done right now, and I'm applying to hopefully get into the nursing program in the fall.
Okay. And I'm going to rewind a little bit. I got ahead of myself because I'm very excited about the program that you're in at SC4. So you're in your freshman year at SC4, and you were a graduate of St. Clair County Tech.
Yes.
Was it decision just go to SC4 the entire time, or what was your college search and decision process, and what did that look like?
Yeah, like I feel like SC4 was always like a big one in my mind because when I did go to Tech, I was in the health careers program for CNA. I got my license, everything. So once I decided I wanted to be a nurse, SC4 was always just a big choice for me because I'd always heard such good things from their nursing program. Like it's one of the best in the state. Like I know that. So, and my brother had gone to SC4, so I'd seen like how good everyone is there, like the professors, all the staff, and I just watched him succeed there. So I thought it'd be a good fit for me too.
And just to, for the audience this evening, and anybody that watches this recording, a CNA, what is that acronym for?
It's a certified nursing assistant.
Okay. And you were at St. Clair County Tech for 2 years?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Very good. And did your brother attend Tech as well?
Yeah. For what was it? He did the IT program and the coding program. He kind of flip-flopped.
Okay. Very good. So you decided to go to SC4 and you're majoring now. But there was a lot of things before you actually set on foot at SC4. And it already touched a couple on the key items that I asked the audience, the seniors of class of 2021, to ask themselves. Did you complete the FAFSA?
Yes, I did. It's funny because me and my dad did it. We always did it on October 1st, which is the day it opens up, which you don't have to do because sometimes they get over too many people doing it. But it's a good idea to do it as early as possible because there's more money available then, and then you don't forget to apply for it down the road.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And how about scholarships or grants, or what was that like your senior year?
Yeah, I did a lot of scholarships applying. Like I'd take like a few hours a week to just like sit down and get a bunch done. Like there was on like my school's guidance office, their website, they had a bunch of scholarships listed. I did a bunch of those, like the local ones. I filled out a bunch of community foundation. I got quite a few from the community foundation. And then of course I attended one of the RISA panels and I won one of your scholarships.
Yes, Amberly, I'd like to make a special note that you attended a lot of our panels, and you know, I kind of go off script a little bit here. Did that help you as you listened to not only the health careers panel, but some of those other panels that you attended?
Oh yeah, for sure. It definitely, like, even if the ones that weren't pertaining to my career was like totally different, they still give good advice for like heading into college and what it's like for them.
Very good. And there's always that saying is the best thing is to know what you want to do, but also what you don't want to do.
For sure.
And that's part of the career exploration process, is hearing other careers from the professionals in the fields and respecting their fields and knowing that's a field that fits them, but also that might not fit your passion and your career focus.
Right, of course.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask you another question because I thought this was very cool when you told me this when we were prepping for the webinar. So you didn't take your first class for SC4 this previous fall. When did you take your first class at SC4?
Yeah, actually, I took my first class heading into my junior year in the summer. Um, Both before my junior year and before this year, I took a summer class online at SC4 just because I worked it out with my advisor and we decided it would lighten my workload for when I'm actually in college. So I kind of just got a head start with it.
Okay. So you took 2 classes and that was not dual enrollment or through St. Clair County or the tech program.
Right. Yeah, no, it was completely on my own.
Okay. And what did that allow you to do this fall and in the winter and spring semester enrolled at SC4?
It definitely, one thing that was helpful is it made me comfortable with Canvas, which is their like online class system, which was obviously really helpful for this year because we're all online. So if I didn't, I would have been like a little confused. So it was definitely nice to know how to submit my work, get my assignments, all that stuff online. And then also it helped me not have as many classes during the actual semesters. Like taking those 2 classes, I would have had 4 classes if I hadn't, but this time I only had 3 classes per semester. So it was a lot lighter workload so I could focus on getting good grades.
And then we've had representatives on our career panels and also on these webinars throughout the 2020-21 school year that have been in the health careers programs. We've had nurses that went through SE4 and went on to university or college. And we also had representatives from colleges and universities talking about their nursing program. The reason I bring that up is part of what you're doing right now is you're preparing for the nursing program, correct?
Right, that's right.
All right. And so when will you be applying for the nursing program at SE4?
Yeah, technically I've already applied
Okay.
because that you had to like start the application process earlier and we had to take a test called the HESI, which is our like pre-admission test. So I already sent in my application, I already took my HESI, and then they're gonna review all of that, and then I'll find out like in May if I get in or not.
Okay, very good. And I asked that only because, and much like myself, when I attended college, and there's kind of a myth or a notion that you go in and you start figuring things out, but actually some programs, applications, whether it's the nursing program or College of Ed or certain things, start the day you get on campus. So I really appreciate you sharing. Actually, you were taking classes before you even were on campus and you're still in high school. So I think that's a very nice thing that you've done for your class load and your application for that program. So during the summer of your senior year, you graduate, you leave St. Clair High School. What did you do to get ready for the fall at SE4?
Right. So like I said, a big thing I did was taking those summer classes that helped me like familiarize everything. Another thing is I actually toured the campus on my own, which turned out to not be as helpful because I didn't go to campus except for occasionally, but it was still like a cool experience to see like when it does open up where I'll be at. And I just got familiar with everything that was going to be expected of me, with online and everything.
Is there any advising appointments or certain things, registrations that they needed you to do before the fall?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely like way back. I met with my advisor frequently because she's like, they have met multiple advisors that are like so helpful. They help you plan out everything you could ever imagine, but it's mandatory at SC4 that you have to meet with an advisor before you can like actually take classes there. So I would meet with her frequently and she would help me figure out what my schedule is going to look at, how to register for classes, what I need to get in the nursing program, when I need to do it. Like that's just the best thing you can do is meet with an advisor and figure out what you want to do.
Really, and develop a plan, which it sounds like your plan is going very well. So what is the favorite thing about your classes? You always hear college classes, different than high school classes, similar in certain ways. Obviously we're virtual, but what did your classes look like this year?
Yeah, it It was really nice because even though they're all online, I had two classes, one each semester, where I would have actual meet times online, which high school students, you're obviously familiar with that. But I hadn't experienced that yet. So I loved, especially like in my English 102 class I took last semester. It was a lot of fun because we would like read poems and then we'd all like discuss them all together. And that sounds nerdy, but that was a lot of fun for me. Um, and then this semester was really cool because I'm in my second semester of anatomy and biology, and we've been doing dissections actually, and they send them all in the mail for you. So I have a bunch of like organs at my house that we've been dissecting, but we've had the option to go on campus like every few weeks to dissect that. So like that's been a really cool experience to like sometimes see my classmates and dissect some random organs.
It really, I was so happy that you shared that with me when we were getting ready for this. Is that that's a big thing that comes up, with a certain majors in this notion right now that it's that college looks a little different over the last year, and it may look a little different next fall. But the majors that are tied to labs, much like health careers and yours, but you actually went in and did some dissections during some labs. But you actually said you like set up an area at home and actually did it at home.
Yeah, actually on Tuesday I had to do one at home because since the cases are rising, my teacher didn't want us coming in. So I was out in my garage. I had like this workbench and I have to lay everything out, and we had like a kidney. We had to figure out how to do it at home.
Well, very good. And we're all finding those innovative ways to get things done nowadays. So what do you think do you think that's a favorite part of your class is those labs?
Yeah, I think so. Which like before I really didn't like dissections, but I think I'm starting to like it because it gives me something like actually fun to do.
That's good. And you talked about your professors already, but the virtual, as much as we're virtual now, it has its challenges, it has its advantages. How have the professors helped you in your first year in college, especially in these challenges of going to virtual, face to face, and hybrid?
Right. I know, if not all, like most of my teachers, they all have conference hours. So if you were struggling, you could like join in like the Teams meeting and everything and like talk to them about your problems. And then on Canvas, we have like instant messaging. Well, it's pretty much emailing, but you can email them with any questions. And they've all been like really supportive and like they let you know when they'll get back to you and everything. So if I have like a small problem, like I'll email them and they get back to me relatively soon and we solve it together.
Well, after you get into the nursing program here this May and continue there at SE4, what's the plan for after SE4?
Right. Right now I'm looking at pursuing my bachelor's because I'll get my associates at SC4. So I'm thinking about right now going to U of M Flint because they have like a kind of like a transfer program with SC4 where it's like RN to BSN. That's what they call it for nursing. So, and I think it's like an online program too. So if I was working as a nurse, it'd be like really nice and flexible to fit around my work schedule.
You talked about a career progression that actually the director of tech, Pat Yannick, was on one of our webinars in the winter and talked about the progression from the CNA, the RN to the BSN. So yeah, you're moving right along that and doing so well. My last question before we move to our other panelists is what advice, knowing what you endured as a senior last year at the start of these times, and now in your freshman year at college, and it's coming to an end here in the next month or so, what advice would you give high school seniors as they're approaching graduation? They just got back from spring break, the things they need to get done now and during the summer before next fall.
Right. First, I would definitely say scholarships because my scholarships covered my entire senior year, not senior year, my first year of college because I worked so hard on them. Definitely recommend, especially now because deadlines are probably coming up. Just get them done. Like they don't take too long if you do a little at a time. And then secondly, come up with a plan. If you can figure out where you want to go or look at different options, meet with different people. Like if you're planning on going to SC4, definitely make an advising appointment. And even if you don't know what you want to do, maybe they can help you figure out some like general classes you can take, but just don't go into it blind. That's never fun. I've seen people do that and it just stresses them out. So it's better to have a plan sooner than later. So you can just all be set and ready to enjoy your first year of college.
Well, thank you so much, Eberly. And you keep saying the word that I'm really excited about tonight is we're hopefully starting people's plans for the rest of this school year as we move into the summer. So thank you so much. We'll come back to you during the question and answer period.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely. And a special note that I talked about the Michigan Hot 50 careers. Actually, 11 of the Hot 50 careers are actually from I'm sorry, the Hot 50 careers are from the health careers industry, and 6 in the top 10 for projected job growth. Actually, nursing, Amber Lee, is actually number 2 of the top 50. And it's actually
wow,
have almost 7,000 openings a year until 2028. So I think you picked a good major.
I think so too.
Very good. All right. Our next guest is Javonte Hubbard. He is a graduate of Port Huron High School and comes to us from Grand Valley State University. Javonte, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Can you hear me?
I can. It's a little staticky. Let's see. We're no audio yet. Can you try without the earbuds?
How about now?
There it is. Those earbuds, we had that happen before. They like to mess with the webinars.
Yeah, I put them in after I start the Zoom, so I think that's what the problem is.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us, Javonte. You are currently at Grand Valley State University. Much like Amber Lee talked to us, talk to us about how you ended up there and what your college search and decision-making process looked like.
Well, the first thing that I always thought about was like going to college, and I just wanted to make sure I got there because I'm a first generation. And like the only really like sources that I had then were like the teachers that I was around or like my friends. I would talk to my teachers about like where they went, because most of them, like you'd be surprised, went to college for something else before they like chose to go into education. I would talk to my friends and stuff like that. I would look on websites, on like different college websites, to see what they offer, different majors, and yeah.
Javonte, we met last spring, actually, before the pandemic happened. You know, you were going through that process. And it's one of the things I admire, that you really were reaching out to everybody, including Mr. Palmer. You were talking to everybody about where they went to college, what they majored in, and you really did the groundwork before choosing Grand Valley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was there any other schools that you were looking at?
Yeah, I was also looking at Saginaw Valley. I was looking at Ferris State. I was also considering SC4 because it's like in my hometown, and it's always cheaper to go to a community college and stuff like that rather than a university.
That's good. So how did you decide on Grand Valley?
Well, the main factor really was I went on tours and I looked at like Grand Valley's campus. I went to Saginaw Valley and Ferris. I really liked the campus. There's also like I paid attention to the programs and everything that we offered here, or like at Grand Valley. Yeah, it was just really like my preference because Grand Valley's their campus is super open. There's people everywhere. Everybody's really nice, and I just got that like when I was touring and really liked it.
Well, you hit on two things, Javonte, and I don't have them on my script right now. But one of the biggest things about going off to college, whether it's SC4 right away or you're going to a four-year university that's away from home, is you have to have that feeling. You know, I have to have that gut feeling that when you are there, and whether it's a virtual college tour or you're actually on campus, that this is the place that you're going to attend.
Yeah.
I remember doing the same when I attended Fair State University. That I walked onto campus and I said, this is going to be my home.
Yeah.
And the second thing is you look at the majors, and that's so smart. Amber Lee talked about it. She knew as she was going through high school, this was going to already start to transition what she was doing at Tech to SC4 and then into their nursing program. And you did the research to look at the major. The last thing you want to do is actually go to a university that doesn't offer what you want to do for a career.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of majors, you looked at it, you found Grand Valley. What is that major that you're majoring in right now?
Right now I'm majoring in business and I'm like minoring in marketing, but I was always between business and then education. I've always wanted to do both. I just didn't know like which way to go, but I chose business, but I also knew Grand Valley had good education programs, and like whichever way I decided to go, I would be fine. So.
Okay. And so you're currently business major, minor in marketing, and you're also doing a work certification right now. Talk to us about that.
I'm doing a course online, actually. It's a 40-hour course. It's a real estate course. And then I'll have to take a state exam, and then I'll be a realtor. So I'm hoping to finish like the course by the time I'm done with the semester. So then in the summer, I can really just focus on being a real estate agent. And I'm going to switch my major to secondary education because I always wanted to do education, and I feel like I can do education and real estate if I've already got it started now. So,
yeah. And Javonte, when we talked last spring, I knew you were considering, you're going back and forth with the business or the education, but I'm glad that you talked about that real estate certification to be an agent, because that kind of led into the decision to switch to education next year, correct?
Yeah.
And I also want to give a shout out. And I know he's a big mentor. Who helped you with that decision and helped you figure out what you wanted to do?
Mr. Palmer, our principal at Port Huron High.
Yeah, you guys are pretty close, aren't you?
Yeah, he would call me and just ask me what's up, and he always was just trying to convince me to be a teacher, and he got me, and then I would be like, nah, and then he got me again, but I think I'm gonna stick with it. It's about time.
Good. Well, and like I mentioned, you did the research. You understood that you went into business, but you may be looking at other things if you were going to make a change, and it's offered at a very good school like Grand Valley. So the plan is unfolding like you wanted. So much like I asked Amber Lee, these are some things coming up here in the next month and a half that seniors need to take a look at. Did you complete the FAFSA application?
I made sure I completed the FAFSA. That was only because I was always told it was like free money, and I mean it is. It's you give your information, and then a website gives you money, and it helps towards different colleges, because once colleges receive your FAFSA, it helps them to grant you money and things like that. It's not just like, it's important to do it. That's why I always thought.
Yeah, absolutely. And Javonte, you talked about free money. The FAFSA application gives you a estimation of attendance, and I'm really glad you touched on a point there. You said once the colleges have your application, they can tell you how much it's going to cost to attend there, because whether you went to Fair State or Saginaw Valley or Grand Valley or SC4, there is a different cost of attendance.
Yes.
And what the colleges can offer you and what you're expected to pay and what grants and that's that free money, and what federal student loans that you would be able to get by attending that college or university.
Yes.
How about scholarships? I already mentioned grants. Did you qualify for some scholarships and some grants?
Yeah, I did. I got a lot of scholarships and grants, and I got scholarships. I just like talked to teachers again, and I talked to you about scholarships before, and I just I applied for scholarships like that they had at Port Huron High, and I got a Black Knee scholarship. It awards me money every semester, and I had to do that. I had to fill out an essay, and that's what most scholarships are, but it doesn't take that long, and it's worth it in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because they're out there, and it's a process, and you got to search for them. Their scholarships are, the amounts vary, who's offering them varies, and so you got to do a little bit of legwork. So much like I talked to Amber Lee about, what were some of the things that Grand Valley had you do over the summer after you left Port Huron High to get ready for enrolling in the fall?
There was a lot of stuff. I had to, well, first of all, I had to save money because going to college is never cheap, and it's not even just like the fact of paying tuition. There's personal expenses that I had to like have money for. Um, I was really excited to go, so I like made sure I had everything that I needed, and I packed everything. One of the things that I had to do as well was say like my first goodbye to my family and friends, like to go off to college.
And that's part of the process too. That's part of the transition is through the summer job starting to build up, financial security to go to college, whether it's just here in your local town or if it's, away, so to speak. And that's a really important because you're looking at what you need to do when you're gone. Yeah, saying goodbye to family and friends. Those a lot of friends go off, some stay, some may go to the same place, and that's part of the process as well. What about Grand Valley? Do they have any orientations or emails or things that you needed to get set up before you attended there?
There was a lot of stuff that like once you admit yourself and they accept you and everything, there's a lot of things that you have to do, especially with COVID. There's all these health assessments that you have to fill out. Like before I came here, like to get on campus to get all my things, it wasn't like I just walked in a building. I had to stay in my car and fill out stuff online, and then everything like that. Everything was just a process. Um, yeah. Registering for classes was a big thing. Be- Like I have to register now still, like for next year already. Like
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, you guys are really hitting the things that had, Amber Lee talked about the plan. You're talking about the process. And what you just mentioned, that was a surprise for me too. I was first generation to go off to college as well, Javonte, and they wanted me to register for classes, but you do it so early. Talk to us about that. You're already picking your classes for next fall. Amber Lee's already applying to the nursing program. What are they asking you to do right now?
well, they're asking me to apply for classes, and well, I have to get with an advisor because I don't know what classes to take. They don't require it like SE4, like Amberly said, but it's still I don't want to end up taking classes that I'm not going to need, and like many students are still undecided or they want to pick a major, and I'm trying to switch my major right now when we're trying to register for classes. So I'm confused right now myself. So I have to talk to advisors and stuff and figure that out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's you're 100% correct, Javonte, and that's what you need to do. Get with the college advisor, get the plan worked out with the changes, and move forward.
Mhm.
One of the things about going away to college, especially living in a dorms, is finding a roommate. Talk to me about how you were able to do that, even during a pandemic, and finding somebody that you couldn't go and visit or meet at like an orientation.
Well, first it was like asking your friends who went, and you're like, well, you want a room, and then everybody's like the stigma of don't room with anybody you really know because you're not going to be friends. So I didn't choose to do that, but um, I went on Facebook and they have multiple group chats and things like that where there's also people your age and my age going on there to do the same thing and look for roommates. So it was just like a social media thing, online thing. Yeah.
Okay, so you met your roommate through there. How many roommates do you have?
I have two.
You have two. Okay, very good. Yeah, and that's a lot different than what it was like when I went to college. There was no social media. There was no way of meeting, your roommates that were from different parts of the state or possibly the country. So I think that's, an advantage as we work through these different times. But there's a lot of positives.
I feel like it might make it easier.
Yeah, and especially meeting new people.
Yeah, yeah.
So what's a typical day look like for you as a college student at Grand Valley?
Well, I should eat breakfast, but I don't. But I get up and I usually do homework and study because I'm, I'm at school. There, what else is there for me to do? I actually have a job too. I work at a pizza place, a Pepino's. And if I'm not working or doing homework, I'll hang out with my friends, listen to music. The college campus, which is the reason why I came here, it's really nice. There's like nature walks and stuff like that. So we go on walks and stuff like Grand Rapids is super close to Grand Valley. So we go to Grand Rapids and things like that, walk around.
That's a beautiful part of the state. Now Grand Valley is just offset from that city. And you mentioned a little bit, you're still, a lot of people thought that went away over the last year. You're still getting that experience, and it probably looks different. It's probably a little limited, but you're still be able to have that college experience even though you're away.
Yeah, there's still there's a lot of events that GV still like throws out there and that students can participate in. Like COVID didn't necessarily stop at all because you have to wear your mask, of course, but once you get out there and do stuff, it's still like a college experience. I wouldn't say it's been the worst.
Well, that's really important for the seniors that are in the audience or see this webinar. Is that's a question for a lot of students and families out there right now. So I appreciate you sharing that. How about your classes? As I asked Amber Lee, transitioning into college, what do your classes look like, and maybe what's your favorite class?
Well, my classes the first semester, I had more online the first semester, or more in person the first semester, and really they're just online and asynchronous, which that means that I don't even meet with a teacher. There's no Zooms at all. It's just like I get work that I have to do. So one of the most important things I have to do is make sure I have a schedule, and because every class is different. Like teachers use different websites for this, and the curriculum for every class is different. So it's really just getting to know it and making a schedule.
Okay. But it wasn't that difficult, correct? Even with
No.
Hybrid or virtual?
No.
What's the best part? You already mentioned some things about Grand Valley and why you picked there. But what's the best thing about attending Grand Valley State University?
One of my favorite things was just meeting new people, because it's like everybody's different, but at the same time, you're kind of the same, the people that you go to college with, you're kind of the same as them. You both chose that college. It's more like you get along with people more. I just feel like people are more accepting, and you're not like in your hometown and everybody knows everybody. It makes it easier to make friends, I guess. I like that I'm familiar with a new area, and like it's not just Port Huron, like, you know what I mean? And it just feels like it's like a fresher breath air, or a breath of fresh air. That was bad.
I knew what you meant, Javonte. Well, the last question I'm going to ask you too before we move on to our next panelist and come back to you during the question and answer is, what advice would you give high school seniors right now before they leave their high school, Port Huron High School, or another high school here in St. Clair County, before they enroll in the fall next semester?
Some advice I would give them is just to make sure like you know what you're gonna do, and just like if you're going to college, you're gonna want to make sure you have the registration done and just everything like that set up, like everything I mentioned before that I did before I went. You want to have your financial situation figured out, and just things like that. I would say just to be ready to be like independent and create your own schedule. I would you could even practice making your own schedule in the summer before you go, and just practice sticking to that. Just get you in the notion of like doing that. Really just be focused, and like if you want it, you're gonna work for it and you're gonna get it. So just make sure whatever you're going for, you have figured out before you get there.
Thank you so much for that, Javonte. As I mentioned, education careers is on that Hot 50 list as well. And actually 5 specific education careers totaling over 8,000 job openings each year for the next 6 years here in Michigan. So as much as, you're probably contemplating that switch, you're switching into a very high demand field of education right now.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
And I'll make a pitch for Mr. Palmer and us in St. Clair County. We'd love to have you back here in the county.
I'd love to be there.
All right. Well, Javonte, thank you so much. We're gonna move on to our next guest now. Let me get camera ready. All right. Our next guest, Caitlyn Thompson, is coming from us as a graduate of Capac High School and is currently at Lawrence Tech University. Caitlyn, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good.
Thank you so much for joining us. Talk to us a little bit about how you decided to attend Lawrence Tech University and what that process looked like and how you came to that decision.
So I'm in an engineering major, so I was of course looking for like engineering schools, and my first choice, I had applied to Michigan Tech. And it like came down to like I got accepted to Michigan Tech. I was like excited to go there, and then I got my acceptance to Lawrence Tech. I was offered a scholarship, and it was a lot closer to home, being versus away up in the UP. And when like COVID started to get really bad, I was kind of towards the choice of Lawrence Tech because it was closer, and if something was to go wrong, it was just easier to be close to family that way.
Okay. And what other schools, were there any ones outside of Michigan Tech and Lawrence Tech, or was it always just those two?
I'd also applied to U of M and Western, but my brother also goes to Lawrence Tech, so like it was just like once I got accepted, once like COVID just kind of took over, it was like somebody's there I know, it's closer to home, so it decision.
That's a great decision. I asked that because right now, the seniors in the audience are across the county and the state right now are deciding, they're deciding between schools and universities. And you mentioned one thing too, that is, scholarships that you receive. And, Javonte talked about your financial aid award letters, and we'll get to that a little bit here, but that also comes down to that decision. Did you complete the FAFSA?
Yes, I did.
Lee and Javonte did? Okay, very good. How about scholarships and grants? Did you receive scholarships and grants that helped pay for your tuition or anything else at Lawrence Tech?
Yeah, I had applied for a lot of scholarships through like the ones that the school told us about, or the community foundation scholarships. And I did receive a lot of them, plus like the academic scholarship from Lawrence Tech. So like they were all very like helpful towards paying for tuition.
Very good. And you did apply for FAFSA?
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Yeah. And I often get this question, and a lot of students and families don't know that you mentioned the scholarship from Lawrence Tech. Actually, to receive scholarships from state universities, you had to have your FAFSA on file to qualify for those college and university scholarships. So that was very good that you filled that out. Well, let's retract a little bit about your major and so you said engineering. What specific trade or discipline of engineering are you pursuing?
So I am majoring in mechanical engineering.
And what do those classes look like?
Right now it's just like basics, math, science, like English classes. And then starting last semester, I had 2 engineering classes. One was like project based, one was CAD based, so like computer designs. And then this semester is like another project based along with chemistry, physics, math.
Okay. And I'm kind of jumping forward a little bit to the summer, but that's okay. I'd love to keep talking a little bit about your classes. So what's a day-to-day look like as a life on campus for a Lawrence Tech student?
So right now, the past 2 weeks we've been virtual because of like not only cases in the state, but cases on campus. But I have a couple, like a class in the morning every day, a class later in the afternoon. So I have basically the whole middle of the day for free time. I usually do some homework, or like I make it a point to meet up with some friends, like get lunch or something, and then I'll have a class at night and then just kind of relax until the next day. It's basically the same every day.
So it's got to be exciting too, getting into some of those engineering classes, project based in the CAD design. Tell us a little bit, and I'm not very familiar with this. What's CAD?
CAD, so it's like a software where you're you're designing like 3D models of, we made a lot of parts that you can machine later on in like the fabrication lab. Last semester was just kind of learning how to use it, where this semester where you're actually using it to design like certain, I think we actually like designed a component for a project, and then we had to 3D print it, and then we were able to make it in the fab lab.
That's exciting. And you mentioned there was something you participated in for many years throughout high school and maybe even before that, that led to your current major. What was that?
I was on the robotics team for 6th grade to like through my senior year. My brother was on the team. He enjoyed it. So I was like, I'm going to try it. And I was on the mechanical team while on the robotics team. And I just fell in love with the hands-on work and all that.
Very good. You mentioned right now, you guys, there's a little bit of a shift going on, virtual and, that's been the theme over the last, 12, 13 months for all of us. And everybody's kind of touched on that. Were there any challenges or things that you really learned through your first year of college?
Definitely. Last semester, like being online, like I'm used to in-person learning. So it was a thing of like getting myself to focus during online classes and balancing like the free time that I had with homework. It would like time management is definitely one thing that I had to like, that I struggled with at the beginning of the year that I've gotten better with now. Let's see what else. I'd say another thing that I've like learned is how to be more independent with myself. Cause like, we have the cafeteria here, but it's always nice to have like food. So like having to go grocery shopping by myself, like making sure that I was like getting food that was good for me, stuff like that. And keeping track of like my assignments for my classes. They always gave us a planner in high school and I never used it. And now I have a calendar on my wall, like of sticky notes with all of my assignments for the days, like when they're due, so that I know when it's due, because you just don't want to turn anything in late.
Yeah, Amber Lee and Javonte talked about that too. And that's pretty important right now in our virtual world, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've always talked about that with high school students, transitioning to college. It's a big, the time management, not being told you have to be at school at 8 in the morning and you're released at 3 p.m., that your classes may be offered in the morning or offered in the afternoon, maybe in the evening. And as Javonte said, you may be juggling work or other responsibilities on campus. So thank you so much for sharing kind of your schedule and, how you learned that, in your first year. What were some tasks, just rewind a little bit, in the summer, you had to get ready to attend Lawrence Tech, and there were certain things they required before you actually stepped foot on campus. What were those things?
So first thing first was I had to like go in, accept the offer, accept like the acceptance, basically say I was going. And then I had to actually go to campus to like pick up like my ID, or I picked up like my laptop and stuff. I had a small tour, like stuff like that. And then I also had to take placement tests for the classes that like my basic classes, basically.
And you talked a little bit about the placement tests. Some you had to take and some you did not. And I know that there's going to be some seniors in the same situation, regardless of what university they go to, whether it's Lawrence Tech or somewhere else. Which ones did you have to take? Which ones you didn't? And tell us why you didn't have to take some placement tests.
So I had to take, I only had to take the physics placement test. I didn't have to take a math placement test because I had taken Calc 1 the beginning of my senior year at SE4. And then I didn't have to take the chemistry placement test because I had like a chemistry background throughout high school.
So the last question, I'll probably ask, what you and I had a great conversation about this when we were prepping for tonight, was what advice would you give high school students, more specifically seniors, as we're starting to approach, the graduation coming up here in May and June?
So one thing that I definitely would want to say is don't think you're preparing for college too soon. Like, you know, you want to get in the habit of being by yourself, getting your assignments done. Like I think I put it in the way of like, if you're one of the kids whose parents are like nagging on you to get your homework done, like start telling yourself to like get it done, because they're not going to be there to be telling you all the time. And you know, if like for me, I live in campus, so it was a constant, like my mom's like, we need to get stuff for your dorm room, we need to get stuff for your dorm room. And I was always like, no, we can wait. But if they want to get stuff, like go get it done now. Like you can figure out what you have, and then if you need more, you can always go out and get it later. And another thing that was like really helpful for me is like once you get on campus, if things are like semi back to normal, is don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone, because you'll meet friends that you'll have for a long time. You'll see organizations that you've never seen before, and you want to get involved with stuff like that.
Yeah. Are you involved in any other activities, or have you, what were some of the things on campus you were still able to do?
So one thing is like I'm part of the marching band here, so that's one thing. And then last semester I actually joined a sorority, which has been really fun despite not being able to do much. I've met a lot of cool people, and I'm looking into joining the aero design team here. So like there'll be like competitions that I'll be able to work on in my senior year for a senior project.
Oh, very good. And much like I talked about with Javonte, there is that myth and that notion that, you're missing out on a lot of the college experience, but it sounds like you're still, working through challenges, but being able to get a lot of that at the same time.
Yeah.
Very good. Anything else that you would get, tell high school seniors before we move on to the question and answer period?
One thing too is like when you start, like it's a good thing to have a relationship, like to build like a relationship with your professors, like get to know them like through office hours or something. Because if something was to go wrong and you needed help on a class or you were behind, like they're more lenient, like I feel, than some high school teachers were. Like there's so much understanding of situations that you could be placed in. So like getting to know them, like making sure they know what's going on if something was to go wrong, reaching out for any help you need. Even like classmates are probably more than willing to help you with something that you're struggling with too.
Yeah, thank you so much, because I think you've all touched on that, the relationships with your professors and the relationships with your college advisors are so important. And when it comes to not only your classes, but also planning out your majors and the path over the next, 1 to 4 years, regardless of what you're majoring in. So I'm actually going to open up. I'm going to keep you spotlighted, Caitlyn. I'm going to open up the question and answer period for the audience right now. So the audience, you can go ahead and enter your questions into the chat feature at the bottom. And then once those come through, we'll read them out to whether it's all the panelists or directed at one of the panelists, if that's a specific person you'd like to ask a question for. But I do have some questions that came through the emails. And I had some questions to continue for the whole panel because of this discussion today. You talked about, Caitlyn, you talked about scholarships. What's that process look like applying to scholarships? And I'm actually going to go up to Amber Lee and Javonte too. What advice, this is scholarship season right now. There's still a lot out there and you're finalizing a lot. What advice would you give for seniors and their families in terms of scholarships and the money that's available out there?
I would definitely say, if it's like scholarships that are still like available to apply through your school, is like take the time to apply for them, take advantage of everything you can, because it does come down to being like a very helpful thing that you can receive. And like if you do receive them, that's like a great accomplishment. Like having the scholarships and like doing the FAFSA stuff like that, like has helped me tremendously at Lawrence Tech.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go up to Amber Lee. Amber Lee, what advice would you give seniors and their families in terms of scholarships and in closing out this high school year?
Right. One thing that I thought of was a lot of like scholarship essays. They'll like ask you like like what did you have to overcome? Like, did you have like challenge or something? So a lot of the things I wrote about were like different extracurriculars. Like I didn't do really sports, but I had like different competitions through tech and stuff. And I'd talk about how I had to compete and work really hard for what I achieved, you know. And I think a lot of like scholarship people choosers, they really appreciated that, like seeing like a different experience and than they'd usually get. I don't know. So like use the experiences that you have, and then that's a lot easier to write about.
Well, you actually hit on one of my notes that I made as we talked this evening was, essays. And the one phrase that we always try to tell students and families is tell your story, about you and your experiences, your challenges, your triumphs, your successes, what you're involved in. So thank you so much for that, Amber Lee. We're going to go up to Javonte and the same question. In terms of scholarships, what advice would you give seniors and their families?
Well, Amberly really said what I was thinking. I was thinking more of, like, just think about everything that you have done, because when I started like filling out scholarships and things like that, it was like, wow, I don't really know what I've done, until I started like sitting down and thinking about like the actual things that I was involved in. And really just like, you want to, like, you want to be self-centered almost when you're writing it, because like writing your essay or filling out scholarships, because everybody wants the scholarship, and you really just want to like you want to present like the real you, and that's what's going to get you picked for the scholarships.
Great answer, Javonte. Thank you so much. All right. Well, you can continue to, enter questions into the chat if you have some. What I'm going to do is we're approaching the hour mark that we usually end our webinar. So I'm going to move forward with some of our closing notes. One of the major announcements that we wanted to make tonight was that the state of Michigan actually extended the FAFSA application deadline. The FAFSA application, as Amber Lee mentioned, opened October 1st and typically closes on March 1st. However, that deadline has been extended to May 1st for the graduating class of 2021. This is a tremendous opportunity for those that have not started their FAFSA and still be very eligible for a lot of state of Michigan aid and these student loans, grants, and scholarships. This event tonight was the first of the BW Can Spring series. Next week, for the seniors in the audience, please pay attention to the communications coming out from BW Can, as we'll be publishing the spring and summer senior checklist to help guide you through the next few months and what tasks you can complete. We also know that you may have siblings, families, family members, or friends that are on their own career and college journeys and are underclassmen. Please let them know that we have 2 more webinar events this year remaining as part of our spring series that will focus on transitions, much like we talked about today. Our next webinar will focus on the graduating class of 2022 and our current juniors on Wednesday, April 28th, to help prepare them for their senior year in high school. And we'll talk a lot about FAFSAs and scholarships and what you can do starting in the fall of your senior year. Our last event that will take place will be on May 18th at 7 p.m. will be our very first webinar for our current 8th grade students that are not even in high school yet, and welcome them to their career and college planning in high school next fall and really get a head start on everything. For more information for all students and families, you can visit the BW Can website at www.bwcan.org, where you'll find not only this recording of the webinar, but 7 other webinars that we hosted this year from the fall and winter series. I'm talking about college applications and financial aid, scholarships, paying for college, career exploration, and then advice from parents that have taken their students throughout the college experience, as well as students that are currently in their majors and reaching graduation from their respected colleges and universities. You can also subscribe to the BWCAN monthly newsletter that provides students and families with updated information and resources from St. Clair County RESA, BWCAN, as well as our community and state partners. Here's an example of our recordings that you can find on BWCAN's website. That is the parent-to-parent webinar that I just mentioned. And last but not least, the spring is not only a great time, but it is also the perfect time to check in with your high school counselors as well as your college advisors that may be placed at your local high school on what you need to be doing before the summer and for a smooth transition to college next fall. These are the 5 AmeriCorps college advisors that are placed in our local high schools and can help you come up with a plan not only for the next month and a half or so, but also for the summer and for next year. I also mentioned a few times today, Michigan's Hot 50 Careers. I did forget to mention that Caitlyn is actually in a hot career as well with engineering. There's also 5 engineering positions on this top 50 list. So it also accompanies one of the largest percentage industries that will be leading until 2028. And last but not least, one of our favorite moments, we will be doing a scholarship drawing. One lucky 11th or 12th grade student from St. Clair County in the audience this evening will receive a $500 scholarship that's sponsored by our amazing partners at the Community Foundation of St. Clair County. So without further ado, we have our drawing, as Amber Lee mentioned. She was a fortunate recipient of the scholarship as well. So the winner this evening in the audience is Madison Fuller from Yale High School, current 12th grade student. Congratulations, Madison. We'll be sending the paperwork tomorrow to you and your family that gets you all set to receive the scholarship to help out next fall. Thank you so much for joining us. This was a great, I want to once again thank our panelists. They're very busy right now as their first year in college is wrapping up, and for them to take the time out of their schedules to come back and help the current seniors of St. Clair County. We want to say a special thank you to you and best of luck finishing out your freshman year. To the audience, thank you so much for joining us. We're available to help you over the next few weeks. Please let us know if you have any questions moving forward. I'm Nick Boudreau from St. Clair County RESA. Thank you very much and have a great evening.